You know, the other reason why I wanted to ask you if it was okay to record was to get your reaction to this, baby. Let's go, Cabo. We the boys.
There's no comment. No comment.
Hey, I just want to make it known to whomever will watch this in the future. Whenever I get a Seahawks hoodie, I will rock it around you. No hesitation.
All right. I have it recorded. It's on there.
The recording.
What's your address again?
I can.
What's your mailing address?
What's your mailing address? What's your social security? What's your Keli'i, what's up, bro? It's good to see your beautiful face.
What's up? Well, you guys had practice there.
Yes, we had I had practice, and we're like adjusting on the fly with like practice schedules and who can be in the gym and whatnot. Just we got to share with baseball, softball, and then both basketballs. So it's like there's like a criteria and a hierarchy of who can be in the gym at what time and different rules. So it isn't as simple as in the past where it was like, okay, volleyball practice is 3 to 5. It's like some days you're like this amount of time or like these courts or not that many courts. So we're just making it work. And then today it's spaced that it was like so late because we've been going. We usually probably like 5:20. But today it was like 6:30. So I was like, oh, shoot. So I had to text you and be like, bro, I'm so sorry. I got to get home as fast as I can.
But I'm still on vacation, so I've been doing nothing. So watching a couple things. That was it.
Well, a well-earned vacation from probably one of the more stressful jobs that there is. You know, being a coach for a professional football team. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
It's still. I know we've talked about it before and whatnot, but like, if anybody's watching this that doesn't know the famous Keli'i Kekuewa, it's like, right, you're an NFL coach. That's a big deal. Does it feel like, bro, I am a big deal. I made it.
I don't feel like a big deal. I'm very happy where I'm at. You know, that's great. I made it. You know, to now it's just time to keep working up. You know.
Sure.
Up the ladder. You know.
And so hold on. You're we go back. Me and you are high school classmates, and even further back, we're like born like 2 days apart. Somehow our families are like connected when we're born and stuff, and so we always say
there's all like the dorms this way.
All Kapalama brothers.
Malama.
You and I were like what dorm mates practically when we were born, huh? Because our parents were together, like together working a Kapalama, and then we were high school classmates, and then you're like this all-star football player. Went and play Bowling Green, right? But at what point, like, did your coaching journey start?
Well, I didn't just go straight to Bowling Green. I went to JUCO in Arizona. Spent 2 years there. Not because I didn't have the grades to go. I just, I wasn't recruited out of high school, and so I didn't want my parents to pay.
Fools.
I didn't want to play. I didn't want my parents to pay for school, so I mean, there was an opportunity to play at JUCO.
Yeah.
And they paid for everything, and it turned out to be one of the better schools in the junior college rankings.
Sure.
It was fun. I spent a lot of time there, or two seasons there, and met a lot of good people. And then I went to Bowling Green. I didn't go straight from Hawaii to Ohio.
Gosh, which probably a big culture shock.
That would have been really big, bigger than Arizona. But I guess that's where my coaching journey started. I didn't expect to be a coach. I tried out for the NFL, and a couple of things didn't go the way that I'd want. But I told myself if it didn't happen that first time, I'm not gonna go chase a dream that, you know, I put everything into it. I didn't get it, and I was okay with that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I almost stayed home. I got home first summer ever to be in Hawaii and be back home with family, and it was a great summer. I had a great summer. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna stay here. I'm just, you know, cruising. I really wasn't living anywhere. I was hanging out with my cousins in Kailua, and so I was like, I'm gonna move Kailua, like, I don't know, maybe become a police officer or something like that. And it wasn't until you know, I was going through it. My head coach at Bowling Green got to Wake Forest. That was his first year at Wake Forest, and you know, we were kind of talking about maybe possibly coming up there in GA. And so the original plan was, you know, I was just gonna get my master's paid for. I already graduated from college. You know, I get my master's degree at Wake Forest, and you know, then I come back home and do it there, you know, and then pay for it, and I go and live in Hawaii. Well, you know, 3 seasons later, you know, I built this love for the game even more than I was when I was playing, to be honest. You know, when I was playing, it was go hit that guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, the coaches I was with at Wake Forest, and, you know, just being in the grind of a season that's not physical, more mental, you know, you learn the game more, and, you know, I started to enjoy the game a lot more. And
yeah. Your passion for the game probably, you know, your knowledge and passion got, you know, there was more, the volume increased, but then probably the depth and the nuance of like the game probably just expanded. Yeah. Like how you said, like it went from hit that guy to like, let's learn about these things, how there's all these schemes, you know, I can see how that would grow easily.
No doubt. And so, like, I mean, I played center in college, and, you know, my world was the box, you know. If any football guys are listening, like the box, you know, the box is like, I only look at the D linemen and linebackers. That's it, you know. Pass protection, I look at the same thing. Now I'm looking at the safeties. I'm looking at, you know, the depth of the safeties. I'm looking at the depth of the linebackers. I'm looking at, you know, what are we doing on offense to do it. So that's where my love of the game. And if anyone's GA'd, it's rough when you first start out. You know, you don't think about the time that gets put in to game plan for a week. So the first 2 years, you know, I mean, I love the coaches I worked for at Wake, and, you know, it was a struggle. It was hard first 2 seasons there. You know, it wasn't as successful as we would want. And but it was good because I was in a developmental program where it was developing the kids and learning how to develop and develop my game and develop the way I coach with the coaches I was there with. And so that's kind of where it started. And by my last season, I was like, I love it. You know, like I want to coach. Not only that was that, you know, living in North Carolina, you know, from that point I've lived, so that's North Carolina. From that point I've lived in Arizona, Ohio, and Michigan, now in North Carolina. So that was 4 states since being home, you know.
Wow.
I was starting to learn, and I just kept moving more east, and then I was in the South. And so, you know, that was great, you know, talking and learning their history, their story, you know. And, you know, our people are a bunch of about story, you know, storytelling, and it's great to be around those people. And also it's great to recruit Hawaii kids to come and play and you know, live their dream, you know, get their degree, you know, so that they could go back home and perpetuate their culture, perpetuate our culture, you know, for our Aloha. So,
you know, it's not like you're some, you know, crazy world traveler in high school. You know, not a lot of people are, but you articulate, right? Like, oh, I started just visiting all these other places. Like, not just like, oh, I went to California or the West Coast. You started to live in places and immerse yourself in all these different cultures, if you want to blanket term it. And how was that, being somebody who is so pili or so connected to Hawaii, being Hawaiian? Did you know, obviously this is another big topic, and I still want to hear about your coaching journey, but since you just brought it up, how is that experience? Like, you know, not to be cliche, I was trying to work around this, but did you feel like you were on an island You know, like you're in North Carolina. It's like, oh, I'm the only Hawaiian guy out here. Like, what the heck? Like, what? Or how was it? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's choke Hawaiians and you felt right at home. Or
Well, when I went to Arizona, it was like a lot of the guys were of color. You know, like it was like 40% poly boys from Hawaii and California, and it was 40% Popolo, and then it was like Holly guys.
yeah.
So going there, I felt like home because I was just playing with a bunch of local brothers. Like that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I kind of didn't. It was just like camp. Like I'm going to camp.
Sure. Nice,
like,
easy transition.
Nice easy transition. Like we're going to camp. My parents could come, fly up to Arizona, and get local food and people coming by. And then it wasn't until I went to Ohio to play at Bowling Green where I was like, oh, I'm the only Hawaiian, like not even Hawaiian, the only Polynesian in like,
wow,
I don't know, however far. And it was crazy. It was crazier for my dad because the school that was recruiting me, there was a Hawaii coach that was recruiting me. And there was 2 poly boys that was recruiting me too there. And then there was a former teammate that I had in JUCO that was playing on this team. And I was like, this feels right, But then when I went to Bowling Green, like, I don't know, I just connected with the guys there. And like, it's, it was Keli'i Kekuewa. I felt in my honor, like, I felt like, man, I got to be here in Ohio. And as weird as that sounds, is that, like, I got to Ohio and I was like the only Hawaiian there. And, some of it was, at first I was proud, like I was like, man, I'm the only Hawaiian, but like I'm gonna take full advantage of this. I am the only Hawaiian, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Look, this is the Hawaiian guy. Like, this is me. I'm the Hawaiian guy.
Yeah.
But then, at times it's like, man, I really miss home. I really miss, connection with the people, and but at the same time, and we've talked about this multiple times, is, my best friend at the time is a farmer, and learning his culture in Ohio, and we talked about how, like, growing up, we have we think they're ignorant to us because they don't know. Well, we're ignorant to them.
Yeah.
Whoever it might be in the mainland, like, we're ignorant to them. And it was great my first spring break, I was cleaning tractors at my buddy's farm.
Wow.
But it's something that I wanted to do. I wanted to learn that. I wanted to be part of it. And being Hawaiian was a plus, but it wasn't a crutch. Like I had, because I was so rooted in our culture, in our lahui back home, because I was so connected to my brothers, who is you, Kayao, it's Keone, it's Kainoa, it's all those my brothers back home, like Sefo, Sush. Because I was so connected with you guys, I could go away and still do what I did and have that connection back home. I still have my ohana back home.
Yeah.
So it wasn't scary because I opened myself up to new experiences,
Yeah.
I wasn't shut off saying this is not how we do it back home. This is not what we do. I learned early on that that's why I went to Bowling Green. Like, I accepted the challenge, but it really was like, I want to learn. I want to know what more there is. I thought it was cool that I was cleaning tractors rather than cleaning tractors. Like, it's corn. Like there's no L&Ls around. Like, there's no poke I was like, man, I'm cleaning tractors. Like, I only did this in a movie or like bought it. Like, now I'm like doing it. I'm at this 2,000 acre corn farm, and like, this is what they do. I'm doing it. And
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're bringing up themes of, like, you had your heart, and your ano, and that was taken care of. Like, you knew who you were, right? And like you mentioned, like, you had the connection to your brothers and your connection to your ohana, and you were loved. And like, I think part of that probably is why you've been able to take on this coaching career of yours, because like you and your beautiful wife and the Mele knows, like, you kind of have been just rolling with the opportunities, right? And then maybe if you weren't, if you didn't have your you're unknown, like connected to who you were truly, and you were taken care of, like it'd be way more difficult. Not to say that it's not difficult. I know it is for anybody who's coaching. But you're securing who you are and who you're, the fact that you're a Kanaka, and that like, because you knew that enabled you to have these experiences. So you go get your master's. So you complete it, you're done at Wake Forest. And then, so where's the thoughts of like, oh, maybe I go home now, or what was sort of that, was it like two paths? Like, I could go home, or I could like, continue.
Yeah. So it really did come down to it. I graduated, and my time as a GA at Wake Forest was Paul. And so I was like, man, I could just go home. Like my original plan was I'd go home and be part of the Lahui back home in Hawaii and do my part. And my background is, land management. So like that was I wanted to do that, for a long time. Or I could keep going down this coaching path and see what I can do. And when I was sitting down and thinking about it, it's been 7 years since I left home at that time. No, sorry, my bad. It's been about 6 years since I left home. So it was around 6-7 years. And like I was just used to, my whole adult life at that time has been on the mainland.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know. I was kind of scared to go back home then I was to stay in the mainland, because I don't know what my life is by myself, me as an adult living back home. I don't know. Yeah. I never experienced it. I do know this route that I'm going. And so, not that I was scared to go back home, but I really enjoyed coaching at that point. So, I mean, that led me to Minnesota. I was at the University of Minnesota.
That's right. And
so I was at the University of Minnesota. I'm glad I was in the Big Ten, and not much people know this, but I have cousins in Minnesota.
Wow.
My grandmother, I've never really met my family on that side. My grandmother is from South Dakota. My grandpa, full Hawaiian, full Kanaka, from Molokai, goes to school in South Dakota.
Wow.
My grandmother is from North Dakota, and that's where they meet. And
that's crazy.
And all her family lives in Minnesota now. So I had Ohana there, so it made me even more comfortable.
Wow.
And so, I went to the University of Minnesota at that point. So I've been all in Midwest, South now, and
that's so crazy. And you had your stint in Arizona, you had your stint at Bowling Green, then you had some time at Wake Forest, and then I think I remember correctly, like this next kind of, maybe I should say the last 4 years, like you've kind of been like boom, 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 like you kind of went to a few different places pretty quickly, right? Like it was Wake Forest is like there for a year, 2 years, and then you hit this season of like, which I think when we've talked before, it seems to be a trend in like the football coaching culture is sort of like, you just go, like if the opportunity is there, you take it, and so you're at Minnesota, and then you got called to be somewhere else. I forget.
So I was at Wake for 3 seasons, really 2 years, but it was 3 seasons I was there. I was at Minnesota for a year, and I was gonna say again, my wife and I, at that time, Nameli and I were just dating. I don't think we were engaged yet, but she moved up to Minnesota with me, which is a whole nother story about talking about a Hawaiian girl coming from Puna, and her first move is to
Minnesota.
Oh. But Minneapolis is great. If anyone's listening to this, if you haven't been to Minneapolis, awesome. Like if you go in the summer, there's so much things to do. It's a clean city. It's a beautiful city. It's I haven't been there in 2 years. Lived there in 2 years, but it's a great place to be. But anyways, so I'm now in Minnesota for a year. I want to stay, but the next part of my journey is to get my own room. So I get a job at a D2 school in Arkansas. All these other places. All these other places I've been assistants, graduate assistants. I haven't really been the O-line coach. I coach O-line, and so now I have the opportunity to coach my own room. So I go to this small school in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. back in the South. And I'm there for 7 months. So
Wow.
I do our season. We had a great season. I had a first team all conference guys, and it was a blast. But I still like. I mean, I was in the ACC and the Big Ten. Like, I want to like. I knew that wasn't my stop, my end goal. Because if in my mind, and this is nothing against anyone in the profession that is at this level, my mind, like, if I'm gonna leave paradise, if I'm gonna leave my lahui back home, in my mind, and for me, for my family, I want it to be at the highest level I can be.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew already that was my stop. That was just a step in the way to get to where I want to go. And I'm still on that journey now, and that's not done. I'm not Paul with that. I'm still working. I'm still young. I'm still working for that.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I'm in Arkansas now, and a job opens up at Notre Dame.
So not to cut you off, but so you're like, hey, babe, I know you just moved to Minnesota, but we got to move to Arkansas. Is that what happened? Not to take a quick sidebar, but like you go, oh, I know you're here now, but we got to go to Arkansas.
Yes. So that's basically what I said. And God bless my wife.
Yeah.
And this is for all coaches' wives. Like,
yes.
Especially as a young coach, you can move. Like, that's just what it is. It's inevitable. And so we were engaged. We were planning on getting married that next summer. Or that summer. No, it was that summer we were about to get married. The summer that I left Minnesota, that summer we were going to get married. And that's what happened.
Got it. Okay, sweet.
So we get married. Oh my gosh. I got the job in June. I think I got it in June. I'm getting married in July.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm down there for a couple of days. And then I fly back to Hawaii. I get married. I come back. I'm settling in Arkansas. I'm starting get ready for the, training camp to start, fall camp.
Yeah.
And so now my wife, my newly wife, a couple of days, she has to now drive down. First off, quit her job. Get a U-Haul herself, our car, and drive down to Arkansas. Only a strong Hawaiian woman could do that.
Yeah, true that. True that. Ayo.
And so she packed up everything in a U-Haul and drove with her sister down to Arkansas.
Dang.
While I'm working, so while I'm still, I'm doing my thing. And so now we're in Arkansas. There we go.
That's so, and then Arkansas, and then that's a quick turnaround to a
there's
legendary program in Notre Dame. I mean, there's not many people on this planet that would be like, Notre Dame? What is that? Like, Notre Dame is a big deal. And so, besides your wife being amazing, how else did you get connected with Notre Dame?
That's another story. So one of the coaches that is there or was there, he was one of my coaches in college when I was playing.
Oh.
He was one of the coaches I worked with at Wake, and he was now at Notre Dame. And a job opened up, and I thought it was a great opportunity. This is the first time I applied for a job that was on the defensive side of the ball. My whole career, I played and I coached offensive line. I've been on the offense, but this was a defensive position, and the coach I knew was on the defense, and I had an opportunity to, widen my range of knowledge of the game and to work on defense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got it. I know with I have other connections with the school, but with this one guy, I built a strong relationship at multiple stops, and I got it. And so I spent 7 months in Arkansas as a O-line guy, and now I'm with the D-line, and I'm helping out the D-line. And honestly, it was the first place that I felt like there was more locals going to Notre Dame than any other place I went to.
Wow.
Hawaii players, like Aloha Gilman and Myron Tamovailoa other guys, recruiting Hawaii
Yeah.
players as well, and so like Maris Liufau, there's another one.
Yeah.
And so we had such a connection, with Manti going to Notre Dame, and
Yep.
there's so much love from the islands to Notre
Yeah.
Dame that I felt that was just great. And also, and it's Notre Dame. It's like
Amazing.
I'm slapping to play like a champion today's time. Like, I'm like, oh really? Like I'm in Notre Dame Stadium. Looking at like this is great. And I was like, it was maybe a step back in other people's minds. It was a step back in my career because I'm not, with my own room, but I knew that I was with good people. It was the University of Notre Dame. And then I was broadening my knowledge of the game, being on the defensive side of the ball. And so I was there at Notre Dame for a season. And that was great. I mean, I loved it. I mean, I would have stayed.
Yeah.
For sure would have stayed.
You would have stayed if, there wasn't like a next step up, right? So
yeah. I did. Yeah, I was like, I built great relationships, and it's Notre Dame, and it's the Midwest. I went to school in the Midwest. I coached in the Midwest, and I felt it feels kind of Hilo-ish, the Midwest, just because it's very like country-ish, city, not city, but I mean, it's like it's just they're farmers, like they're country guys, like so I kind of felt homey, I felt like I was in home, in the Midwest. And so, I mean, I was there. I didn't apply for any other jobs. I wasn't looking for any other jobs.
Sure.
And then this job came along.
So before we get there, I know where. I mean, look, each stop on your coaching journey, we probably could have done with 5-hour podcasts about each one. Tell me more about Arkansas, blah blah. We could have expanded more on them. I know we're kind of going through kind of fast because, I mean, it's cool that you coach in the NFL. But are there it's not easy. Like, we're just blowing through all these coaching stops. Like, it's like no big deal, but I know there's got to be hard times that the ups and downs, right? I know it just seems like you're just on this amazing upward trajectory, but what are some of the things that maybe you carried with you, that you bring from home? Like, are there any kind of lessons or, things that you're on your heart from your family or experiences from home or Hawaii that you would use, as you're kind of going from school to school or job to job, or where they may be all new skills that you learned while like on the fly,
Yeah. Well, I first would like to say, I'll talk about the lows, and then I'll talk about, because I think that's where it starts, and then I have all these. What I'm still learning too. So, one, my wife is amazing, because you heard where I'm going, and to football fans, like I was at the ACC, Big Ten. Now I'm going to Notre Dame. My wife has had to move with me now I'm in the NFL. Like, my wife has had to move with me every single part of the way.
Yeah.
And I'm following my passion and what I'm doing. And she's supporting me, and she's always supported me. And I give her not enough credit, because she's putting her life on hold for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
just so everybody knows, whoever's listening to this, as far as I know, Keli'i's not in trouble. So this didn't turn into like the whole bow. You gotta shout out Namele the whole time. It's just.
She's got a slipper right here. She got
right. Namele is the best thing that's ever happened to me. No.
You see me looking up. That's why I'm like looking up.
No, but I'm not trying to make. I know I made a joke, but what you bring up is so true, right? We're not on this journey alone, right? So if you have a significant other, if you have a wife like how you do, or other people who have whatever other situations, we're not in this alone. So yeah, you have incredible support from your wife.
Yeah, and the other hard thing is, it's not like she's from the mainland either, So she's from Puna. She grew up same area as we did. You know, she's of the Lahui. You know, and so for her to do that for me, it's easy for me to make friends because it's football. You know, it's like I have a and so at times it's hard for her. But she keeps me grounded to Hawaii, you know, and there's a great story. Remind me, I gotta tell you this story.
Yep.
About how she, like, this one specific, not, she's multiple moments, but this one specific one stays with me, and this is why I need her. But then, so yeah, she's got to do all that and keep roots for her own back home and her for her family. So that's one. That's one of the lows and highs. Another thing is, you know, when I first started off coaching, you know, we talked about this multiple times, Kyle. My whole thing of going back home and, you know, being a land manager and, you know, something in that fashion, like, I knew that I was okay. I'm doing this for my Lahui. I'm teaching the Opio, like the Aina and our culture, approaching our culture, and I'm back home and I can fight the fight, you know, with them there. I struggled a lot with how am I perpetuating our culture? How am I doing my part for our Lahui? If I'm on the mainland, I'm just doing football. That's all I'm doing. Like, how am I affecting the Opio back home if I'm over here? You know, I'm in Arkansas. What am I doing? You know, what you know, I'm in North Carolina. I'm in Minnesota. Like, what am I doing for our Lahui? And everywhere I went, I've tried to recruit Hawaii players and the Kanakas, and, you know, I tried to, you know, Polynesian players, but like, I never thought that I was fully, you know, doing my part in the Lahu. It wasn't until not recently, like in the last 2 years, you know, granted there were great places that I was at, but that I was told, like, this is what you're doing, coaching, that is perpetuating our culture. That is doing our Lahui. You're one, in our culture that we can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's two, it shows our OPO that you can do it in this age, in this time, that it doesn't matter if you're a kid from Puna. You know, so many times I hear stories of people laughing when my mother-in-law says, like, you know, my son-in-law works for in the NFL. I was like, oh no, I play in the NFL. Like, why not me? Why not a kid from Puna? Why not a Hawaiian from, you know, Kau or the Big Island or Hawaii? Why not a kid from it? You know, because I've been like, that's, in my mind, that's BS. Like, it can be.
Yeah.
That is me. And, you know, and there's multiple people like that. There's multiple Hawaiians that are coaching, you know, in our profession, the coaching profession, multiple. There's Coach Johnson at Notre Dame, the volleyball coach. He's a Kapalama grad. Yeah. I'm a Kapalama grad. Another Hawaiian, part of Lahui, that's there, and the head volleyball coach at Notre Dame.
The head volleyball coach from West Virginia, I think, was a Hilo High grad. You know, he just
Our senator is a Hilo High grad. A guy working in the White House went Molokai High. Like, why not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why not us? And so we are doing our part in our coaching profession. Like, we are set up where we are at because we are, one, showing how strong our Lahui is, that we can be here doing this stuff.
Yep.
For our Lahui, but then also shows our OPO that, you know, they can too.
Yeah.
It isn't far reached. It is here. We can do it. You know, and
it's so powerful. It's a powerful thing. I mean, they talk about, you know, there's plenty of research out there that, you know, people just need that spark. You know, I mean, like, you know, I think Marcus Mariota, he always gets brought up, right, as like the token Hawaiian guy, but you know, how many more kids are more motivated to get involved with athletics because of what Marcus is doing or whatever. There's I like to use the phrase, when you do this kind of work and you're involved in leadership, you're committing to planting seeds of trees that you're never gonna sit under the shade of, and it's hard work. You gotta tend the soil, you gotta malama, you gotta take care, and you plant the seed, and it's like you gotta move on, right? The job, demands a lot, and it's like, well, why are you doing all that work if you're not gonna reap the benefits? But it's like, yeah, it's because that work matters. Like how you bring it up for the OPO, it's like I was an OPO like that. I needed people to do that work for me too, and it is difficult to be away because there's such a huge connection to like your one hanao, right? Your aina. There's a connection for Hawaiian people to like the physical soil and the land. And so we got to acknowledge the difficulties of like, or the struggle or the pulling, right? I'm sure like when you're in Ohio, like you mentioned, working on the tractors is like, dang, I could be at the beach right now. Or, like there's those thoughts, right? The pull is strong, but the work and the mission can be just as strong, right? And like how you're saying it, like the work is so valuable. It's amazing, right? I didn't even know about that Kane you brought up from Molokai High. He works at the White House. That's like now. That's amazing.
I believe that's what I was looking at. I was scrolling some stuff, and it was my wife and I, and we were looking. There's two people. I mean, I could be wrong, so maybe you're
fact check.
There was two people that were. There was two people that was from Hawaii. One was from Oahu, and then the other one is from Molokai. And it wasn't. And maybe your next talk should be with him because that's awesome. I mean, I think that's great. And it's not like he's from Molokai, went Kamehameha or went to Punahou or that. He went to Molokai High.
No.
If I'm stand corrected, like he's the first alum that ever went to Harvard. Like that's crazy. That's what this KANAKA did. Like he went there, and now he's there.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that's great. Like, why not him?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's so funny how I'm just like beaming. Like you just brought up how like it couldn't be. We got a fact check. It could not even be a real thing or whatever. And I'm still like, yes, like, and I don't even know the guy. Like I could be like the most pilau guy ever or whatever. But like, just the fact that like, we're part of it.
I'm gonna look his name up right now. So it's on record.
Okay, we'll tag him. We'll tag his Twitter.
Tag him.
But it's just the pride. I don't even know if I want to use pride. It's like, it's just, you feel as if, like I brought up earlier, you're not alone, right? And so like, there's all these different, I heard this new definition of faith, which is not like a exact definition. It's just someone's interpretation. Faith is playing in the game and knowing that you have teammates that you'll never get to meet, and it's like, you're relying on these teammates that you'll never get to meet. And like, it's so cool that every time you learn about a teammate, like that you never knew about before, and you're like, yeah, a random guy from Molokai High, like that's my teammate, and I guess this in some ways connects to another, before we get into how cool you are and you coach for the Seahawks.
Wait, before that, I got my wife just gave me the guy.
Oh my gosh, the title of this is gonna be Namele Rocks.
Michael Kekuewa of Molokai.
How amazing. Say again. Press assistant.
Press assistant. Serve as press assistant. Includes he was part of work experience response coordinator for the War Room at the Democratic National Committee. All right.
Sheesh. Say his name again.
Michael Kekuewa.
Michael Kekuewa. Beautiful.
Of Molokai.
There we go.
Valedictorian of Molokai High, class of 2013, and was the first alumnus to attend Harvard University.
Wow.
Attaboy, Hawaiian.
Attaboy, baby. I'm clipping this. I'm sending it right to you.
You put him next show. Let's bring him in right now.
Hey, Michael, I tell you right now, you can join us. We got a good vibe going right now. That's so awesome. I don't even know. that makes me so happy that Namele got that. Because now I'm truly gonna go look this guy up. That's awesome. I was getting on my soapbox and preaching how it's like, all the Hawaiians, we got to be on the same team. That's something we've said before. And, gosh, for me being so far away, this would have impacted me way harder if I was at home. But I guess, not that it's disrespectful, but I do want to create a little space now that I just remembered, like, rest in peace, our mayor, Billy Kinoy. I know that's kind of a weird segue to bring it up, but I just thought of it. So I think it's pono to bring it up, and that was another guy who was just a local brother, and he went and did something big, and I guess it doesn't have to, you don't have to go be a lawyer to like be valid, right? There's all kind of ways that you can live aloha and represent and be a part of the Hawaiian team, kind of, so to speak. And so, Mayor Billy Kinoy, he was a special guy doing special things like how we're bringing up. I don't know if you want to share any of your thoughts about Mayor Billy Kinoy.
No, my mom, like your ohana, like my ohana has connections with Uncle Billy, and though I wasn't close with him, I was close with Aunt Cappy, and but my mom definitely is. What I loved is that you don't have to change who you are to fit a certain mold to do what you need to do. Especially nowadays. Like, it's funny because when I go home, like people say, "Oh, I talk like one haole when I come home." Like, but over here, I talk way too much pidgin like this. So it's like no winning.
Yeah.
It's just surrounding yourself, but how you can be from where we're from and accomplish the things that Billy Kinoy did, like, it's great. It's awesome. It's a teammate that we don't even know, a teammate, but he's doing his part in our lauhui. He's doing so much for our OPO, without noise. So yes, rest in peace, and to my aloha to the Kinoy family.
Lots of love and aloha. I know a lot of people are sending them more than just thoughts and prayers. I know they're getting helped out a lot, and so so it's such a interesting season we're in our life, Keli'i, where we're like adults now, and like those these kinds of things happen, and you bring up a super interesting point about how when I'm in the mainland, like I'm too Hawaiian, and then when I'm back home, I'm not enough Hawaiian now, or you didn't exactly say that, but to keep it short. And I brought up to you over the phone before this, and maybe something that you want to touch on for a little bit or a long time. And for so long, I love that example of what your mom said about Billy Kinoy, about like, you don't got to change who you are to fit into this one thing. You can be Hawaiian and umbrella and be a lawyer. You don't have to lose who you are to like become something, right? And it's so interesting that we bring up Billy Kinoy, and this loosely connects to a situation that I just had, and I don't know exactly how to say it, so I'd love your thoughts, and maybe you can put words to like my feelings or not. It's a journey I plan on talking about with a lot of people. I have this feeling of like, Hawaii, like, it's like everybody else gets to interpret what Hawaii is or Hawaiian. Like I brought up those cheesy examples of like Hawaiian pizza, or like Febreze as like the Hawaiian scent, or like, in my specific example, someone was playing a song and it was like, oh, this is one Hawaiian song, or that represents one luau, right? And I was like, just in the moment, it's very offended and struggling, conflicted, a lot of feelings. And you've been in so many different states in the mainland. I don't know, was there ever times where a phrase that I'm trying to break myself of saying too is like, oh, Hawaiian time, like, oh, you late, you're on Hawaiian time, oh, nice job, bro, or whatever. it just feels like the Hawaiian culture is not something that I want people to like, oh, Hawaiian, like I can just use it however I want, you know? I mean, so I don't know if you ever encountered anything like that, you know, during your times in Hawaii. I mean, you're such a loving, charismatic, Mr. Aloha type of person. So it's hard to imagine, you know, me and you, I would say, would let those moments kind of roll off our back a lot. Um, I don't know, any thoughts or feelings about that, or do you see that still today, or?
Definitely. um, it's kind of it's hard to talk about. Not saying because like I'm so burdened with it. It's just it's hard to talk about because as I mentioned before, like how we grew up thinking they were ignorant to us, and when you have to you got to flip it and say like, well, we're also ignorant to them. Like they don't know. And I when I left high school, like I knew that, I knew that about them. I knew that about me, that I was ignorant to them knowing. So how could I get mad? So mad at them because I don't know what they are being taught. I don't know, I don't know them. They don't know me. I don't know them. So I can't, I get totally mad about it. Now I'm here and I am with a bunch of people that are from different cultures, different places in the world. And those things happen like Hawaiian pizza, and people make jokes about being Hawaiian, all those kind of things for a long time, and I don't think I ever got over it yet. I haven't got over the hump of being super pissed. For a long time, those things have happened, and I just laugh, and I nod my head and just let it go.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's right. I'm not saying what I'm doing is right. One, just like my name, people don't know me as Keli'i Kekuewa. Like my nameplate now says Keli'i Kekuewa. It's all over my everything, but everyone still calls me Chief. And that's a nickname that they give me because they can't say Keli'i. And at a certain point, I just gave up trying to tell them what my name is. So is that their fault or is that my fault? It's probably my fault. Now that I'm older, I say Keli'i, but people know me as Chief. Everywhere I've gone, I've been recommended for a job, and what do they know me as? They know me as Chief. So everywhere I've been, that's how it is. So I can't
correct me if I'm wrong. Did Pete Carroll address you as Chief the first time he met you?
Yes, he did. Which is not his fault.
It's not his fault.
Because you know what, they see a lot of K's, they see E's, they see I's, and they just like, oh, but he goes by Chief. It's like, all right, when you go Chief. But I've allowed that to happen, and the people that I hang out with now, the coaches, some of the coaches I hang out with now know that I want to be known as Keli'i. I'm finally at that point where, it's now I don't think I'll ever get away from Chief because of always being it, and it's my fault for giving up on. But those are like little things, like I've allowed that to happen. And they don't know. I mean, our culture, our people have been, what's the word? We've been commercialized. We've been for hundreds of years, in film and even to this time, like in film and in shows and food and just in life, like we've been commercialized. We've been put into this category of if it reaches something like this, that's what it is. That's Hawaiian.
I
live Hawaii, you're Hawaiian.
I just had this burning like anger. I'm just thinking like, oh, mele kalikimaka, and like how you said, it's convenient for everyone for me to just numb myself to, I don't know that I'm going to call it an abuse, but it's like how the more we tolerate that and don't speak our mind, it's got to be okay for us to speak our mind. Kelly, if you need permission, it's okay for you to be like, hello everybody, I would like to be called Keli'i. Like, I don't, that's not a big ask, you know what I mean? um but like, you know, so if someone is like, oh, mele Keli'i maka or whatever, and I don't know, it's there's a confliction there because it's like, oh, you're from Hawaii, like shouldn't you be like Mr. Aloha? Like, why are you tripping out at me saying like mele Keli'i maka or whatever? Like, just Merry Christmas. Like, oh, but I don't know, I guess it's the same conversation in a way when someone goes to Hawaii and goes to the beach and like litters or something. They're like, ah, it's just like one thing. Like, why is it a big deal? It's like, you know, well, it's a big deal for me, right? It's like, what do so now you get to do whatever you want to my Hawaii, and then I gotta go pick up your trash too. Like, you get to say whatever you want about Hawaii, and then I just have to deal with it. Like, you know, where is the line for me to love and appreciate people and acknowledge their ignorance, like how you brought up, you know, we don't know, they don't know us, we don't know them, but then, you know, what, you know, what are some daily things that we can be doing that sort of speaks up about that and be like, you know, it's like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, that's not okay, like, to say around me or whatever. And it's easy with your name, right? Because it's sort of, you know, you sort of like that is you. So it's like, it isn't like, hey, like, please don't play that song. And it's like, I can play whatever song I like. You know, it's just there's a weird dynamic with that kind of stuff. But you know, I don't know that there's any sense that you and I aren't saying to each other like, bro, we owe it to the Lahui to like crush every single discriminatory Hawaiian act that we ever come across. You know, it's like, that'd be great if we was the Hawaii Supermans, right? But like, that takes a toll. I mean, we could literally go through our whole day. That'd be like our job. Oh, sorry. Hey, excuse me. Like, do you know about that? Or, oh, excuse me. Like, you didn't pronounce that correctly. Like, would you like to learn the pronunciation? Oh, excuse me. Like, you're saying that, but that's actually not true. Like, please don't perpetuate that idea or whatever. So, anyways, I'll get off my Hawaiian soapbox now. I think, you know, like how you said, in small ways, we're getting better at helping everyone learn about Hawaii and Hawaiian culture.
And honestly, like the people that do that, and I do, and most of it is joking around. Like, you know, they know that it's like exaggerated. Some things are exaggerated, and
Yeah,
you know, like we're joking around. So, but then I'd be back. Like if the guys I know that I can, you know, that I've worked with, they're not gonna keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like they actually do want to learn. You know, they want, but they really want to learn. And the guys that I've actually taught my name to, just a short example, like the guys I taught my name to and be like, oh no, my name is Keli'i. Like they try their best to say Keli'i. They don't ever call me Chief.
Yeah.
You know, they try their best to do those things.
Yeah.
They don't say those type of things anymore. What I get mad at, sorry, now I'm on my
no, go baby, go.
What I'm mad about is in our day today, like there's so much, like we're affected by the Black Lives Matter. You know, we're part of that. Because we're brown. You know, we're colored. We're kind of part of that because we are in that, and that's how I see it.
We can sympathize with that movement. We can make similar comparisons, for sure.
Sure, and that's with us. You know, Native Americans. Like we can relate to that. Yeah. What I don't like, and then that I bring up when I do get mad, is when, you know, there's a stereotype of not even being Hawaiian, like being Polynesian. Like I get passed up as being Samoan all the time, but it's not being that. It's like just small examples, like, oh, that's Chief's brother, and it's one guy with long hair. You would never say that about anyone else, any other culture, any other ethnicity, anyone else of a different color. But because, you know, I'm Polynesian and because I'm Hawaiian, that's okay. That's where I get mad. Because you say it's not right for these people, but for these people, we can do whatever we like, so yeah. That's when, or we can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And can say the stereotype of these people, but not this one, because that's way too political for this.
So,
And I don't want to be political. I don't want to be in a political, and that's why I'm not naming it. But these, like, it's politically we can't say this, but for these cultures, for these ethnicities, yeah, it's free reign.
Yeah. Well, it's going back to that. It's the respect thing, right? I mean, it's like, why do you think that you can just say that? Or I don't know, in a small way, it's also like, oh, I met a guy from Hawaii one time. He lives on Maui. You know who that is? And we're like, bro, what? Like, no, is he complete, like, this is a random person. Like, why are you asking me? Like, and they're like, oh, like, I thought you would know. Or, and they don't mean to be disrespectful. Or maybe let me ask you this. Do you think people just don't realize like how impactful that is?
I think so. I don't think because these are guys like I know and I respect, and they wouldn't, and like if they knew how that affected me, they wouldn't say something like that. But socially, it could have been the same for this other. I don't want to. These other people, like they wouldn't say at all say that. Like why us? Like, so here's another example. I was coaching, and one of these coaches were recruiting this kid, and he had like a lot of vowels in his name, and he had a T in it, and an N, and it sounded Polynesian. It really did. Like I didn't know, it wasn't Hawaiian. I knew that already, but some kind of Polynesian, and I recruit Polynesian players. And they're like, Chief, you know this guy? I was like, no. Okay, do you know what village it is? Like, no, find out. And so, like, I'm researching the kid, like I would, like maybe it sounds Polynesian, like it should, one, he shouldn't have said that because, he shouldn't have come to me because of that, I mean, like, find his village, find it, that's one thing that you shouldn't say, and I don't think. And the other thing is the kid is Nigerian. My kid's Nigerian, but you assume that I should know the kid, and two, that I should automatically have a connection with the kid also.
Yeah.
And so like that one rubbed me a lot wrong way too, because you would never say that to.
Well, and maybe another way to say it is you shouldn't say it to anyone, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So it's what I'm saying, like you're not reading like a clearly, it sounds like it's an African name. You're not going to your black coaches and be like, oh, do you know what country he's from, what tribe he's in? You're not doing those kind of things to the guy that has a Nigerian last name or something like that. But to us, is that you can do that? Like that's where we still have strides to make for our Lahui that one's an example for all of Polynesia. That's one of those that we're put in a box. Like there's people don't know that what Polynesian is, like that's another thing. Like people don't know, that Samoans come from Samoa. Like, people don't know that Hawaiians don't look like Samoans, like Hawaiians hate Samoans, like where does that put Hawaiians? Like, do you guys hate all of them? Like, what?
Well, another one too is people are like, what? Like there's a Hawaiian language? Like, oh, that's nuts, and like we said, they don't know. We don't know what they were taught, right? I mean, at times it's like not even their fault, but once they know, and they continue to act disrespectfully, then it's totally their fault. And I do want to acknowledge, like how you're saying, right? It's so political and it's so, in the spotlight of our social culture now. So I appreciate you like just having the courage to like share your honest feelings. Like the ability to just like communicate and just talk is just like, it's so funny how I just feel so like under a microscope, and to share how you like honestly feel, right? Like that's valid, right? And it's valid, and it's important to learn, and everyone, who we're talking about in all these examples should learn too, right? And I mean, it's a beautiful thing when we learn about other cultures and we become more accepting to people. It's it's a beautiful world we live in when we acknowledge those things. Speaking of being in a beautiful world and learning different cultures and whatnot, you're at, not to like try to bring it all the way back, but you're at Notre Dame, and then you're going to, well, there's no other stops between Notre Dame and the Seattle Seahawks, right? Like this, like you went from there to there.
Yeah.
And so what, I mean, you got, on your coaching journey, you get to meet all these incredible people, have these experiences, right? And you get to know people from different backgrounds and experiences and all these things. And I don't know, part of you, being tolerant and accepting and connecting with all these people kind of led to your opportunities in the NFL, right? Because you, like how you said, you took the challenge of going from offense your whole career to defense, which I mean, you said it pretty lightly, but that's kind of a big switch for a football coach, right? You don't hear about like, oh, I used to coach quarterbacks, but now I coach D-line. It's like, oh, that's kind of a big switch. So you go to Notre Dame, you're coaching D-line, right? And then you guys have a good season, and you were saying you were going to stay there, right?
Yeah.
So then what changed?
So I was coaching the D-line, and it was great, and good season. We're going to a bowl game. One of our coaches left, and they had a vacancy in the tight ends room. The tight ends need to be coached. Defense this whole time, and the offensive coaches never knew. I mean, they kind of knew that I was an O-line guy the whole time, but I've been on defense the whole year.
Yeah.
And so, the guy I worked for, loved the guy I worked for. He recommended that I would do a good job coaching tight ends, even not knowing anything, their playbook, not knowing anything. And the great thing is football is football. So it's like, it's easy. It's vocabulary, right? So it comes back, So I got the opportunity to coach the tight ends in our bowl game.
Dang.
Worked with great people on the offensive side of the ball. And at that time, one of the coaches there really got to know how I coached and my knowledge of the game in just that short 2.5 weeks preparing for the bowl game, that he, felt like he could recommend me for a job on the offensive side. He wouldn't have done it if I stayed on defense, that's for sure. So it just, thanking Kekuewa that this situation happened. I'm sad for the guy leaving, but for me to show that I can do stuff on offense was great. And so this job came along. I was recommended by this one coach, and I interviewed 2 weeks later, and I got a phone call the next day after I interviewed. And then I called my wife, like, all right, we're going to Seattle. But the great thing is, like, I didn't expect it, like it happened. I wanted to stay at Notre Dame. It was a great opportunity for me to stay. But I mean, I can't turn down the NFL. Like,
sure.
That's something that I wanted to do, at a young age. Like, this is the highest level that I could be at. And I'm still working hard to further that. But now my foot's in the door.
That's so incredible.
Another guy that's encouraged me and that's been supportive of me, another Hawaiian, another KANAKA, another teammate for you, Kyle, is Donovan Iola, who is a KS grad, played in the NFL and was actually Notre Dame. He coached in Notre Dame, and then he's now with the Bears. So another KANAKA from the La Hui in our coaching profession that is, but he's been very supportive in my journey, and we've talked, and just being, KANAKA to KANAKA, like in this profession, in the NFL, in similar roles, like, is very supportive. And so
I love it.
And to the young guys out there that, like, oh, I can't, like, there's no one up there that knows. you meet people from Hawaii in the strangest places.
I bet.
And so you better when you find them, you better recognize it. When I went to so here's a crazy story. Sorry, I have a lot of stories. Here's another story. So I'm at Bowling Green, so I'm officially there. Like my first day on campus as a student or whatever. First weekend, I'm there. My dad's up there, my papa's up there. We go to the bookstore, and this small Kepani lady is looking at old Kepani lady. She's looking at us, and so we're just shopping, whatever. And we come up to the register, and she's like, "You guys from Hawaii?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, where are you guys from?" It's like, "From the Big Island." And she goes, "Me too." I was like, "Oh yeah, we're from the Hilo side." She goes, "Oh, me too. I grew up in Puna, in Kea'au." And I'm like, we're like, what? This small Kepani lady grew up in Kea'au, not like Oahu grew up.
No,
she grew up in Kea'au. And I still talk to her today.
Wow.
And her husband's a big hockey fan, so they've been hockey fans this whole time. But then since I was playing there, they were always there at every game. They were, cheering us, giving us lays, making us slam musubi, perpetuating her. Like, she started to know all the other, like my roommates, like, and since I left, she's built relationships with them. They're season holders, like, so you never know where you'll meet them. You know what I mean?
What I mean, that's such a great, that's another invisible teammate you never knew about, right? Yeah. But you're like, oh, Bowling Green, and you're like, okay, I'm confident in going, but what's gonna happen? Is it people gonna take care of me? Boom. You didn't even know this old Kepani lady was gonna be such a big moment in your life, but she was there. She was on your team, man, and is on your team. That's so amazing.
She's still on my team.
Yeah.
She's still. Yeah. She's always, like, and I love her. Like, she's auntie, you know what I mean? Like, she's auntie.
That's so awesome.
Along with so many other great people that have come across the way in recruiting kids and meeting their parents, especially from the Lahui.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, when I was in college and recruiting kids, like, it was such a joy for me to see parents send their kids off and knowing they're confident that I will take care of them. Like, I love that. Like, I'm part of this kid's journey to become a man. It felt even better when it was a Polynesian family or a Hawaiian family that had the same, like, worries that I did, like, oh, there's no Hawaiians around, there's no, and making them feel good, because they need it too. They need, like, parents need it too. No matter how old you are, like, they're still like, this isn't home. Like, it doesn't feel like home, but you're gonna get out of it what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's the first thing when you want to leave. You're going to get out of it what you want to get out of it. If you close yourself to the world, to the mainland, to different experiences, you'll never leave. And I love going home even more. I appreciate home even more. The relationships I have at home, and so blessed that we have Zoom and FaceTime that I can FaceTime Ohana, but, like, there's such an appreciation of going back home now too. But just the fact that you bring those kids, start their journey away from home, so that they will later go back. And some people in Lahui go back, and that's awesome. And that's their kuleana to the Lahui, is to go back. Yours, mine, and other, Kanakas on the mainland, not even in coaching, just on the mainland. We have our kuleana on the mainland, and it's so great. And you find all these teammates.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Again, on
beautiful.
The sequence of Namele is great.
I'm letting you know right now, like, the title of this is gonna say Namele is great. That's gonna be the title. Yeah, but hey, Keli'i, I gotta let you go. And if there's any last things, please add it. But you know, I will have your name as the title of the episode, you know, in future episodes. Okay. But it's just evident that we have to malama and aloha namele for all the amazing things that she's done in your life. So we gotta do that. No, but seriously, Keli'i, like, you know, not that I was down in the dumps about work, but like how you're saying, you know, like you make up whatever excuses, like your mind, your body, your na'au gets tired sometimes, right? And they're like, oh, yeah. This conversation, bro, I just feel so rejuvenated. I feel so, I don't know, sometimes you're filled with like anxiety or, you know, you're like depression or whatever. And I just feel so, I don't feel like, oh, I'm so happy, or like, you know, like I don't feel like this fake high. I feel like this calm, you know, like if you just out, you get Mauna Kea in the background, and you have this beautiful ocean and Kilkaha, and you're like looking out, and you're just like, oh, like I just feel calm, and that's because of you, and the stories that you shared today, and I love you for that, and I really thank you for that, and I want to keep having you on so that we can do this more often.
I loved it. I love that you hit it right on the nail. Like that's exactly how I feel. Like I know I was just home, but like having these conversations, and we always have these conversations. It's not like the first guys, whoever's listening, this is not mine and Kyle's first time talking about it. I remember talking with him when I was at Wake Forest in Minnesota. Yeah. We've had all these conversations about this. This is an ongoing conversation that we always have. That, you know, new day, new problems, new solutions. If whoever's listening, this is my closing for you, Kyle.
Love it. Love it.
Two things that has made me successful and that's gonna push me to become, you know, to the next level. To, you know, the first is my kuleana, and that goes to like my kuleana is to do hard work. Like that's my kuleana, is to do hard work and to show that my responsibility, whatever it is, whatever my responsibility is, I'm gonna go 100%, and I'm gonna put in everything I have, and I'm gonna show hard work, because that's one of the foundations of our people is hard work, is our responsibilities. And I think I've done that. I'm sure I've done that at everywhere I've went, because I wouldn't have been in the spot that I am now if I didn't do hard work. If I didn't do the work at a high level, not only just doing work to work, but doing it at a high level. That's the first thing. The second is aloha. And we talk about this, you know, being Mr. Aloha and all that. But if it wasn't for aloha, the aloha that I learned my whole life, from my ohana, from my friends, from people, from our lahui, if it wasn't for the aloha that I was taught at a young age, that when I come to the mainland, I show that same aloha to everyone I encounter, no matter who they are, no matter their backgrounds, no matter what they did, what they're gonna do, is I show aloha to everyone that I encounter. And I've gotten to places because of the relationships I've built with other people. And they know that I have that aloha spirit. And it's not a fake aloha spirit that everyone uses, that commercialized. It is the real aloha spirit from our aina, from our lahui, from our people, from Big Island to Niihau. Like that's who we are, is that aloha. And if you don't show aloha, you're not showing our people with a good face. And so those two things have pushed me, has gotten me in positions for opportunities to move forward. And so if there was, for people that are listening, to young guys that are listening, those two things, you know, you have a kuleana to yourself and to your ohana to do hard work. And that's your kuleana, is to do that. You know, you know what, SOS, school, you know, self ohana school. What's for your lahui? SOL, self ohana lahui. You remember that for Kamehameha? SOS?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Self ohana lahui, SOL. And then just showing that authentic aloha spirit that everyone has, every Kanaka has, because that's who we are.
I love it. Keli'i, the world will never hit, it will never reach its cap of aloha. The world can always take more aloha, and I appreciate you saying that out loud, and I appreciate getting to share a little bit of get to vala'a with you and share that aloha, via the Zoom. Via the Zoom. And hey, it is definitely not goodbye. It's until we Zoom again. A hui ho. A Zoom ho.
You gotta you gotta put me on when you get Michael to get on your show.
Oh, you got it. You know what? I'm gonna make a note right now. Bro. I usually rewatch these, and do whatever. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'll remember his name. But Michael, you don't have it right there, do you?
I'm trying to look it up right now.
Michael. White House.
Kekuewa.
Got it. White House. Cool. Yes. Hey, I will, we'll definitely rope you in to when I get Michael Kekuewa on.
I mean, it might be Hawaiian, but could it be Japanese?
No idea. Do you have a picture of him, or is it just words?
No, I got a picture of him.
If you're from Molokai, you're like Hawaiian.
I know, but there's some that in Molokai that aren't
True.
We gotta. They're Hawaiian by what they do.
The White House just barely got Obama in. So like, when real Hawaiian looking guy, who knows his chances? So like, bro, we maybe got to sneak in and not.
This guy. This on the rowing team.
Who's that guy, Michael?
Yeah.
Right, he's a legend. Bro. But yeah, anyways, Keli'i. Absolutely.
Hawaiian.
Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. We cannot just shove the most Hawaiian looking guy in there. Gotta get that guy for breach first. Exactly. Hey, Michael. Hey, let's zoom it up. Okay, Keli'i, I love you so much. Ahui ho.
Love you.
Tell Namele I said aloha, and then hey, until we do this again, brother.
Oh, it's great seeing Uncle Kie at the airport, brother.
Oh yes, yeah, they're doing. Hey, I gotta set up a Zoom with him too. They're doing some amazing stuff.
Only if they play Harvest of Rainbows, they can go.
Oh. Okay, if any more conversating gonna happen, I'm gonna need to crack a beer or something. So. And I'm trying to lose some weight, so we're done. No more, no beers, nothing. We're done. We're out of here. Okay, Keli'i, love you, brother. Right. Aloha.
Aloha.
Hilo's such a rainy old town. I listen to the rain come down. Don't it fall so free?